Well, welcome. It's been a good time for a bye week. I started off with a little bit of downtime for the guys on Sunday, let them have Monday. The only thing they did on Monday was have a lift and conditioning session with Coach Herb. They had Sunday totally off. Monday had a little lifting conditioning with Coach Herb's. Went through the game film with our two coordinators. My 7 other assistants and myself were on the road. Most of us got back Tuesday morning to mid-morning. Had a good practice Tuesday. Tuesday concentrated a lot on our twos. We're repped a lot in our threes. We repped instead of our ones, we set them out after individual, let our 2s and 3s get a lot of work. A lot of those guys that have been getting a lot of reps. Some added rest time. Yesterday was a really good practice. Had a lot of good on good, but then also had a jump on Auburn. Got some great developmental work at the end. Today will be much of the same. We'll hit the road recruiting this afternoon and this evening and Friday. And then get a good jump on Auburn again on Sunday and get ready for a big week. Injury-wise, really no surprises coming out of the game. Guys got a little bit healthier and a little bit better than we had been in weeks previously. So going into the Auburn actual game week itself, the only people that will be limited anyway are the guys that you obviously know about with Robert and Will Hines. Will actually started back at practice this week. He's doing a little bit at the beginning. He's still obviously in an air cast and can't have contact. It looks as though as if he continues to progress along the way that he has at this point. An early x-ray yesterday showed the development that we had hoped. So hopefully we'll get him back for our 2 remaining final conference games after that second bye week. So this week's been fun for me as far as just being able to lock into a little bit of recruiting, counting on some of that stuff, getting heavily involved in that. I've been blessed with some great donors that have given us air travel to make that happen. On the flip side of it, everywhere we've been, it's just been extremely positive with the coaches. We can't talk to players yet, but the reception that we've gotten from coaches and really from coast to coast has been exceptional, and it was good for me to get into a different thing other than just X's and O's. It was beneficial for me probably to get out on the road and get refreshed a little bit and hear some positive things and excited about game week. Auburn next week, obviously a big game for us, a lot that goes into it. A team that's ranked, a team that's done some good things, and obviously an opportunity to be here at home on what should be close to sounds like a sellout crowd, an evening game that everybody should be jacked up for, and be a tremendous environment. It'd be a big weekend for us in recruiting as well. With that, open up for questions.
Usually don't ask this until, say, after bowl eligibility is not a possibility, but does there come a point, where you have a group of young kids maybe just chomping at the bit that you play them, or are you going to play older kids?
Well, I did tell the guys immediately after the game on Saturday, as well as our coordinators on Monday, and my message to the team on Tuesday was, there comes a day where Groundhog Day isn't entertaining. You have to begin move forward. You have to make decisions as coaches that you know you're going to be in a position to get yourself better. But no, I told our guys the other day, with 4 games remaining, if you win 4 games, you have a chance at a winning record. If you win 4 games, you have a chance to be bowl eligible. Those are 2 very, very positive things. Those are things that would mean a lot to our program. It's not do or die, but it's a big, big deal. But on the flip side, the number 1 reason to beat Auburn is for pride. I think that's something that's been questioned or taken a swing at, or however you want to say it. So the easiest and the greatest motivator amongst men that carry the testosterone to the fullest, that really believe in the fundamentals of what football is all about, pride should be the number 1 reason.
You were so committed to these upper seniors when you got here. I mean, do you worry about the effect on them if you start playing younger kids, or how?
And I'm not saying we're just going with a full-scale youth movement, but on the same account, I think if we're through 8 games and you're a player of senior status to junior status and you have not progressed the way that we would like, haven't had the results that we would have liked at certain positions, you can expect someone to get an opportunity. And I'm not, because I think our seniors know from day one, and I kept them. I had a senior meeting on Monday, or I'm sorry, I had a senior meeting on Tuesday. We had a luncheon where we sat down, and I basically said, hey, from December, when I first met with you to where we are today, I've never wavered in trying to say 2 or years down the road or 3 years. I'm talking about now. I want to win now. You were excited about it before the first game. I talked about it again at a point where we were jumping into SEC play. Obviously, our results aren't where we need to be, but it's not because I've given up on this room. I still want you to have the greatest. We're doing 2 things this year to honor the seniors they've never done. We're having a senior ceremony on Senior Day that is going to be very, very unique. We actually kind of stole some ideas of places we've been before, but in the past they've basically recognized the seniors as they're running off the field about 20, 25 minutes ahead of the game. We're going to have actually everybody go in the locker room. We'll bring the seniors out right before kickoff, 6 to 7. 8 minutes before, Mark, correct? That we'll bring them out individually, let them have recognition at midfield with their parents, their loved ones. Some of them have wives, some of them have children. Give them their moment. No matter if you're a guy that never played, a guy that never saw the field, if you're an all SEC player, you're a guy that's going to be a draft pick, everybody gets the same show. It'll be a steady crescendo up to our 4 captains. I would imagine when they get announced, it'll be a pretty big deal, as well as a couple other guys that have done a lot here. Those guys have gone through a lot. The other thing we'll honor them with on December 13th, we'll have a senior banquet. That's something they've never done here before, which kind of blew me away that they didn't recognize our seniors. It'll be an end-of-year banquet, but it is called the senior banquet, where we honor them, let them have a moment to kind of shine on with their parents or their family. Again, it's a big recruiting weekend for us. It's a way to showcase our program in a way beyond football. So I think they get a great indication that we care. And as we go through this thing, in my previous experiences, Senior Day should be one of the most special days in your coaching memory. To say goodbye to guys that you recruited, developed, that should be a big day.
Obviously, you've been on the road recruiting. What do you see now that you've been here several months? What do you got to go out and get?
You know, we for all practical purposes, we've probably worked our way through about 3/4 of our commitments. So, you know, we get a certain number that we're set in. That number may grow. My guess is we're going to have some conversations in December with some guys that may or may not be happy with where they're at and where they need to go. Some couple guys have made some life choices that will make it easy for me to move in a certain directions. We won't take guys away prematurely or anything like that. The only way that you can lose your scholarship is from stupid behavior, academically or socially. With that being said, I really have taken the last 2 or 3 weeks to get a good accord of what I see, what we have, and what we need to do. I'd originally planned probably just to sign 2 or 3 junior college players that may grow by 1 or 2. I think we probably, unless we find the right high school kid, need a junior college linebacker, maybe a junior college DB that we weren't planning on signing, and the possibility of maybe either a transfer or a junior college player or 2 on offense as well. And then we just got to get if there's certain kids that commit to you that you may see them as an immediate answer, whereas you see certain kids maybe as they might be a 2-year answer, or somebody that you expect to come in and develop in a program the way that we like to get it done. I did find this one I thought I'd share with you. Everybody loves propaganda. This is a recruiting letter that we sent out the other day, and it basically, I wasn't in charge of the design. Obviously, if you saw me on a computer, you'd know how funny that is. But our recruiting department is something they put together. Greatness is happening, and are you going to be the next freshman to have a role in the season? And it basically lists 18 guys that are either true freshmen or redshirt freshmen that are having immediate impact on our program. We've got probably, I was notified the other day, probably 5, maybe 6, 7 guys, depending on the next 4 games, go on guys that could be either freshmen All-Americans or for sure freshmen All-SEC players. Whether that's something you want or not, it's definitely something that encourages you and gets you excited about what we're doing. I just need, I use Warren Stevens playing, a guy that's been great for me since I got here about travel, and I texted him the other day. I said, hey, last year your plane helped me land 4 true freshmen All-Americans. If we can double that next year in this year's class, we'll be doing good business. So hopefully that can continue to grow.
When you're having these tough losses, is that a selling point you can use? Like, hey, we need help. You saw the game. We need help.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not as simple and as blunt as that, but absolutely. The general message is, and one of the things I did. Okay, so can't say by NCAA rules. We have a certain number of kids that are committed to us. That is a large number. Normally during a call week, I take on 10 to 15 calls, but I wanted to take in every kid that's committed to us. I wanted to have the recruiting phone call this week for one reason. I wanted to talk to them and give them my message about where we are, and I've worked myself through about 3/4 of them. It's been absolutely awesome. I know, at other places, when things are in a difficult road, you get sharks in the water and everybody smells blood, and we're going to have our opponents coming after our kids that are committed to us. And that's when you really rely on, hopefully you've recruited the right type of kid, the kid that wants to be a Razorback for all the right reasons. He's the kid that you hopefully get here next Saturday and he sees a crowd that is going to support the Hogs no matter what. That's the part that you really sell.
Just with your workouts with the younger players, do you see any redshirt freshmen this year that you think, well, this
Yeah, we had a great point yesterday. We had at the end of practice, I called the guys up and they thought practice was going to be done. I said, does anybody want to watch a little football? I said, I'd like to watch these young guys play live football, American football. So everybody went bonkers. We went out and you got guys yelling and screaming. You got young guys or older guys. And what's kind of neat now is, you got guys that are true freshmen who are playing that are yelling at their classmates, and watching them play and get excited. DeAndre Coley came up and whacked. I can't remember who was trying to get a ball. Just a great hit, great explosion. You would have thought we'd won the Super Bowl the way the team the defense, and I said it's still 2nd and 8. It's not that big a deal, but it was good to see the energy, the excitement. DeAndre Coley jumps out. Corliss Marshall, who you've seen flashes of, we put him back at safety. At the wide receiver position, there's some guys that we redshirted this year that continue to make some things happen. It was Damon Mitchell and Austin Allen running the quarterback position. To see those guys compete gets exciting. Defensive line-wise, Tevin Beanham has made a huge jump. You don't even recognize what he looks like right now, and he's a guy that has continued to impress us. At the corner position, DJ, some of the guys that are getting minimal playing time continue to really show and flash. Brooks Ellis has had his best week of practice by far.
You talked a lot about recruiting, working on something next week.
How can I help?
Well, please do. As a guy who believes in balance and maybe a little bit more toward the run side of things in offense, as the spread has come in to college from the high school ranks, what kind of challenges does that present to you as in recruiting?
Who's the number one rushing team in the league? What do they run?
Spread. Perfect.
It doesn't matter what kind of offense you're running. From the time football began, the teams that can run the ball have success. Now, there's going to be exceptions to every rule. I mean, you look at, obviously, our A&M game. They're known for their throwing game, but what actually ended up winning in the game? The run game. Everybody thinks about Oregon being this high power. What do they rely heavily upon? The run game. I mean, it's just what you believe in and but the basic core philosophy, and you better be able to run the football and defend the run, or you're not going to win many games, holds true. I just had probably the most abrasive not press conference. I love your press conference. Abrasive staff meeting this morning with my coaches, because I can't get people to understand that if you don't run the football and if you don't stop the football, we're not going to win games. And that's Auburn is rolling into town with that exact philosophy.
And I ask because I remember a long time ago I had high school coaches telling me, the thing is it's just more fun for kids. Do you have to fight that perception a little bit?
No, I think the common denominator there is the reason that we're able to stay solidified with kids is the kids that have committed to us find our type of football fun. It's the football that the NFL is running, and I understand there's a little bit of a wave of that, but the greatest thing that can help us in our recruiting department is the more failure the Philadelphia Eagles have. All right, because you're in the NFL and you're playing defense on a team that is going to put you out there repeatedly over and over again. That shortens your career. And the bottom line, every kid that plays offensive, defensive, and special teams football in college wants to play in the NFL. He wants to play in a system that's going to benefit his ability to play at the next level. I really believe that over the course of time, the pro-style offense is going to win out for that one exact reason.
You
You like to keep things positive. How do you balance the positive outlook for the kids on the field with making the corrections that you know have to be made to improve?
I think it's in your voice, it's in your demeanor. I encouraged my guys when we went out to Tuesday's practice to be as happy as they could be. Whatever you got to do to put yourself in a positive mood, read a comic book, watch a little bit of TV, do something to get you in a positive mood, because I am not a happy person, but on the same account, this is what I signed up for. I don't sit around and waste time thinking about what if, all that jazz, but I worry about how do I make my football team better, and a lot of that has to do being positive. And I think when you can go with these young guys and understand you're not coaching the guy that lost the leverage on the ball against Alabama, don't get pissed at him just because he plays the same position. Let him grow. Let him continue to move forward. The thing that was very frustrating for me, the difference between the 55-0 and making that game competitive and having a chance to win are some basic concepts. In the Alabama game, there's a play where we take the tight end, we drive him back as a 6-technique defensive end. He bubbles the ball back. We have a corner that fills exactly like it's supposed to. It should be a 2-yard tackle for loss. He escapes him. And then we'd have 5 guys pursuing inside out that try to push him into the boundary, and they never cut off the boundary, and he goes for a 40-yard score. If we have one guy snap in front of him, we have 4 guys to make a play, it's an 8-yard gain. That's the difference between what is reality right now for us and where we need to be. It's something and some principles that are so rudimentary and fundamental. It's exciting because I know where we can get. It's just not fun to go through this process.
As we have time for a couple more.
How much will this week help Brandon Allen just not getting whacked and getting some time off?
Well, whacking never helps anybody, so that's a good part to start. Tuesday, just like other starters, he didn't get a lot of work and let him have another day of recovery, but he had a good day yesterday. Today they'll have another good day. We'll do double the amount of work on scout team and stuff like that, but any day that you can give a sophomore quarterback that's starting in the SEC reps, he's going to get better.
What's your philosophy on punt returns? I think Javante's only really attempted 6 all year, and there's seemingly been times when he probably had room to operate and chose to fair catch it. Is that on your advice?
Well, I think that first that was our one option that we kind of really had. Our starting punt returner going into that last week of preparation was DeArthur Cowan. So he's a guy that's finally back healthy, and we got an opportunity to do that. The only other guy that really had showed time back there was Eric Bennett, DJ Dean, and now, as like I kind of said earlier, if you're a senior that hasn't shown it, now there's maybe a new opportunity for someone to go forward. There was one play on Saturday where we definitely thought maybe he could have got it and gone. But if you remember back early on, some of those, even our first 3 games that we won, there are a few plays that ball security was an issue, and it affects people. It affects his ability to catch it and go. So we've constantly worked with him. I appreciate everything Javante's done. I've tried to give him a tremendous amount of encouragement, but we might have to go in some directions to make some other things happen.
Is the totality of where you need to improve a higher degree of difficulty than you expected when you came into the job?
And I mean this with respect. I don't know if I expected a level of low or high. I knew it was the SEC. I knew I left a conference that we had won 3 straight times, and we're probably going to have one of my best football teams to come to what I think is the best conference in college football. I wanted to come to an opportunity that had never given this fan base what they wanted, which is an SEC championship, and that has been my driving force from day one, and that hasn't changed. It may be silly to talk about when you're an 0-4 SEC team and a 3-5 football team overall, but the process to get to where I know where we're going to be, I know what's going to happen. I didn't prepare for this just in 7 years as a head coach. I went through this as a 1-10 assistant at Iowa. I went through it as a difficulty during times as an assistant during my career as a coordinator. I know what the plan is. I know how to get there. It takes a little bit of time. That anybody that has any type of impatience, which I'm the biggest violator of, it's never fun to get there or in the process, but it's a hell of a lot of fun when you get there.
When you focus on recruiting, is there something that's like this team is missing and like just speed in general, or
You know, it's kind of a little bit of bit and piece by position. I think at certain positions, there's somebody that we, you know, like a true Mike linebacker, or, you know, there's some easy things there. You know, you got 3 linebackers, Sam, Mike, and Will. What do you need? Well, this is what we need, you know. I think overall, I'm looking for 3 things. I want kids that love football. I want them to, you know, a lot of people play football, but the kids that love football, usually you can do extraordinary things with. I want them to have, if at all possible, I want to have something that shows me that they love to win, you know, whether it's a championship, a winning record, a captain, you know, something that shows me that they don't just love playing the game. They love playing it, but they want to win. And the third thing, they have to believe in the core values of what we preach here, which is academic, athletic, and social success. And they're all 3 equal. If they have an imbalance in that, usually we're not going to be able to get them to where they want to be. You're going to play best football. If you're a player that comes into our program and does what we do and practices the way we do, you are going to play better football in year 2, 3, 4, and 5 than you do in year 1. That's how it works. So it doesn't do me any good to lose a guy after 3 years being ineligible or anything like that. Now, if I lose a guy in 3 years because he's a first-round draft pick, amen, hallelujah, he's probably a pretty good player for me as well. But question?
Last one, Matt?
yeah, you still got some teams, tough teams left on the schedule. This gives you a chance to kind of reflect and regroup this week. What would you consider a successful final month of the season?
You know what? If we get better every week, and I said that at the beginning of the year, and that's called philosophy. My philosophy as a coach is you got to get better every week. Obviously, if we get a few wins along the way, all 4 wins would be great. But I want to see improvement on the areas that we stress and coach. I told our coaches today, you know, I can't accept answers that are inadequate. You know, if we need to leverage the football, I don't want to hear about why we didn't leverage it. I want to find out why we are going to leverage it. If we're going to, you know, play a certain technique, I want to know who's going to play the technique and how we can play it better. I just can't accept anything else. And for me as a head coach, I know I'm not going to. You probably hear me say it quite a bit. Don't flinch. My old AD sold a book. I'm not trying to sell books for him anymore, but I do believe that a lot of people in life, when you're in a difficult situation, flinch. You know, when you're a little kid, you used to walk somebody like that, go that at them, and everybody flinch. You know, it's exactly what it means when somebody's coming at you, and I got a lot of people coming at me. You know what I mean? Not in our nation, in Razorback Nation, but you got people that try to take your recruits. You got teams that are trying to beat you. You got, you know, a fog around Arkansas that has been around us for a little bit of time that I'm trying to fight off. And those things can wear you down, but if you flinch or if you try to react in a way that you're not accustomed to doing, you're going to have failure. I love it when I see coaches have failure, and then what are they going to do right away? They're going to change. They're going to go from the pro to the spread. They're going to go from this to this, you know. I'm made up of what I'm made up of. I know it'll win. I know it'll have success. And if I flinch anywhere along the way, then my kids are going to be able to, you know, see it, and they'll start doing it. And we just can't have that.